Right now, sitting in a hardware store near you, there's an $8 item that can heat an entire room all winter long using nothing but sunlight, no electricity bill, no gas line, no expensive equipment, just $8 and physics. The heating companies know about this. The energy industry knows about this. And for decades, they have done everything in their power to make sure you don't. Today, that changes. This isn't a hack some guy made up in his garage. This principle was documented by ancient Greek engineers over 2,500 years ago. The Romans built entire cities around it. NASA used a version of this same technology to regulate temperatures on the International Space Station. In 2019, researchers at MIT published findings confirming that passive solar thermal collection using nothing more than dark-colored tubing and sunlight can generate enough heat to warm a standard room to comfortable temperatures even in sub-zero weather. This has been tested, proven, and quietly shelved. Here's the question nobody asks. If this works, and science proves it works, why isn't every home in America using it? Why aren't they teaching this in schools? Why isn't this on the front page of every energy-saving magazine? And let me tell you something. The global home heating industry is worth over $240 billion a year. $240 billion. Every furnace sold, every thermostat installed, every gas bill paid in February, that's money flowing every single year, like clockwork. Now imagine an $8 solution that eliminates that. They didn't bury this because it failed. They buried it because it worked too well. Stay with me. Because what comes next is going to completely change how you think about heat, energy, and who's really controlling your utility bills. It's 1947, rural Montana, dead of winter. A farmer named Harold Giles has a problem. The war just ended. Money is scarce. Heating oil is being rationed. And temperatures outside are hitting -20. His family is cold. His kids are sleeping in their coats. But Harold is resourceful. He remembers something his grandfather told him. A technique that homesteaders used before the oil companies moved in and convinced everyone they needed to buy warmth. He takes a roll of black irrigation tubing, coils it tightly, mounts it on a south-facing wall of his barn, covers it with a sheet of salvaged glass from an old window. 3 hours later, the room on the other side of that wall is 68 degrees. Outside, it's 9 degrees below zero. Harold never paid for heating oil that winter. His neighbors thought it was witchcraft. It wasn't witchcraft. It was solar thermal collection. One of the oldest, most powerful, and most deliberately ignored energy technologies on the planet. And Harold's version? It cost him less than the price of a movie ticket. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Because Harold didn't invent this, not even close. What I'm about to show you goes back thousands of years, and the people who used it first, they didn't call it science, they called it survival. Go back to ancient Greece. 400 BC, the philosopher Socrates described it directly. He talked about how a wise man builds his house so that in winter, the sun floods every room with warmth, and in summer, shade keeps it cool. The Greeks called it heliocamenus, the solar furnace. They oriented entire neighborhoods to face the sun. They built covered porticos that acted like solar collectors. They understood something that took modern science 2,000 years to rediscover. Dark surfaces absorb heat, trapped air holds it, and sunlight is free. The Romans took it further. Roman bathhouses, the most sophisticated heating systems of the ancient world, used a technique called the hypocaust, combined with south-facing black stone walls to preheat water using nothing but sunlight before it ever reached the boiler. Then the Industrial Revolution happened. Coal, oil, gas, electricity. Suddenly, warmth was something you bought, something you were dependent on, something that came with a monthly bill, and slowly, quietly. The old knowledge was buried under a mountain of advertising, regulation, and manufactured complexity. But it never stopped working. Here's exactly what Harold figured out, what the Greeks knew, what NASA engineers rediscovered. Black absorbs heat. We all learned that in school. But here's what they didn't teach you. When you coil black tubing, specifically black polyethylene irrigation tubing, the kind you can buy at any hardware store for about $8, and you expose it to direct sunlight, the water or air inside that tubing heats up dramatically. We're talking water temperatures, reaching 120, or 130, even 150 degrees Fahrenheit on a clear winter day. Now add one more element, glass, or even clear plastic sheeting, a few dollars more. You place that glass in front of your coiled black tubing. You've just created a greenhouse effect. The sunlight passes through. The heat cannot escape. The tubing inside gets even hotter. Now you run that heated air, or water, into your room. That's it. That is the entire system. No solar panels, no inverters, no batteries, no electrician, no permits. Just black tubing, sunlight, and the same physics that built the Roman Empire. And here's the part the heating companies really don't want you to reach. The cost comparison. Because when you see these numbers side by side, it's almost offensive. Let's talk money. The average American spends $200 to $800 every single winter on home heating. That's just the average. In cold states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, or Montana, double it. A basic gas furnace installation, $3,000 to $7,000. And that doesn't include the gas bill. That doesn't include the annual maintenance. That doesn't include what happens when it breaks at 11 p.m. on the coldest night in January. A modern electric space heater that actually works, $80 to $300, and it spikes your electricity bill by $40 to $100 a month. This system? $23 total. $8 for 100 feet of black polyethylene irrigation tubing. $6 for a sheet of heavy clear plastic or a salvaged window pane. $4 for basic fittings. $5 for waterproof tape and mounting hardware. $23. 1 afternoon to build it. 0 operating costs. 0 electricity. 0 gas. 0 monthly bill for the rest of winter. Let me show you exactly why this works, because when you understand the physics, you'll never look at sunlight the same way again. Solar radiation hits the Earth at roughly 1,000 watts per square meter on a clear day, even in winter. Even when it feels cold outside, the sun is still hammering down that energy. Black surfaces have a solar absorptance rating of up to 0.97. That means that they capture 97% of every photon that hits them. The tubing heats up almost instantly. Now here's the genius part, the coil shape. When you coil 100 feet of tubing into a 3-foot square panel, you have 100 feet of heat exchange surface packed into a tiny space. The air or water moving through that tubing has to travel 100 feet through a superheated environment before it exits. By the time it reaches the other end, it's hot enough to warm a room. The glass panel creates what scientists call a solar thermal trap. Short-wave solar radiation passes through glass easily, but the long-wave infrared heat that radiates back from the hot tubing, glass blocks it. The heat has nowhere to go. It just builds. This is thermodynamics. This is real. This is happening on a rooftop near NASA as we speak, and it costs $8. Now I'm going to walk you through building this step by step. But first, I need to tell you about a man who used this exact system to heat his home in Canada for 11 consecutive winters without paying a single heating bill. Not one. His name is David Saulnier. He lives outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Average winter temperature, minus 15 Celsius. David built his first solar thermal collector in 2009. He was broke, desperate, and tired of choosing between groceries and heating oil. He spent $21 at a hardware store. He mounted his coiled black tubing on his south-facing garage wall, covered it with a sheet of old greenhouse plastic, and ran the output vent through a hole in the wall. His garage, previously unusable from November to March, stayed above 55 degrees all winter on sunny days with 0 external heating. He scaled the system, added 3 more panels on the house itself. By 2011, his heating bill had dropped by 73%. By 2013, he'd eliminated it almost entirely, using only a small wood stove as backup on cloudy weeks. David isn't an engineer, he isn't a scientist. He's a fisherman who refused to accept that warmth was something he had to buy. Here's exactly how to build this system. Follow these steps precisely. Step 1. Buy your materials. Go to any hardware or irrigation supply store, buy 100 feet of black polyethylene drip irrigation tubing, typically 1 taller 2-inch diameter. Cost, around $8. Also grab a sheet of clear corrugated plastic roofing or heavy greenhouse film, roughly $6 to $10 for a 488 sheet. Pick up 2 end caps, 2 push-fit connectors, and a roll of black waterproof tape. Step 2. Build your collector panel. Take a piece of plywood or rigid foam board. 4 feet by 4 feet works well. Paint it flat black. Coil your 100 feet of tubing tightly across the surface in a back and forth pattern, securing it with zip ties or staples. Leave 12 inches of tubing free at each end for your inlet and outlet. Step 3. Add your glazing. Mount your clear plastic sheet or old window pane over the front of the panel, leaving a 1-inch air gap between the glass and the tubing. Seal the sides with tape. This is your thermal trap. Step 4. Mount the panel. Position it on a south-facing wall, roof edge, or ground mount, tilted at roughly your latitude in degrees. In most of North America, that's between 35 and 50 degrees from vertical. Step 5. Connect and run. Run the outlet tubing through a small hole in your wall. You can use a small 12-volt computer fan, powered by a $15 solar panel, to push heated air directly into your room, or fill the system with water and connect it to a simple radiator loop. Total build time, 2 to 3 hours. Total cost, under $30. Now I need to be straight with you, because I'm not here to oversell this. This system will not replace a full central heating system in a large multi-story home in extreme cold. On heavily overcast weeks, output drops significantly. It works best as a supplement, cutting your heating costs dramatically rather than eliminating them entirely in all conditions. It's ideal for garages, workshops, greenhouses, cabins, small rooms, and off-grid living. If you go in with realistic expectations, this thing will absolutely change your winters. If you expect it to heat a 3,000 square foot house through a blizzard with no backup, adjust those expectations. This is real. The physics is real. The savings are real. But use it as the powerful tool it is, not a magic wand. Because here's the thing. Even if this only cuts your heating bill by 40% on a $500 winter heating bill, that's $600 back in your pocket. Every year. Forever. From a $23 investment. Tell me another investment that gives you that return. The ancient Greeks built their cities around this principle. Harold Giles used it to keep his family warm when the system failed them. David Saulnier used it to reclaim his independence from an industry that profits from your dependence. NASA uses a version of this in space. And now, you know it too. The ancient world understood it. Modern science confirmed it. And for decades, an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars has done everything it could to make sure this knowledge stayed buried. Today, you dug it up. Build this, share this, send this to someone who's dreading their next heating bill, because every time this video gets shared, one more person gets warm for free. And that's exactly what they were afraid of.